Hey students, welcome to week 14 of bus222 Accounting Principles. Let's dive into it. This is our learning objectives for this week. We're going to pick up where we left off this week from last week when we did chapter 20. We got halfway through about chapter 20. So this week we're looking at the elements of a lean operation. We're going to identify the changes in inventory management that you need to go through in order to adopt a just-in-time philosophy, which is part of the lean manufacturing principle and lean operations. And then we're going to do a quick comparison of the activity-based model, activity-based management style that we studied last week. We're going to compare it to lean operations this week. Okay, a reminder from last week that the value chain is the concept that in each step of a process that you go through to manufacture or produce a service or good, you add value to it. And so this was a typical, maybe not a typical manufacturing company or a service company because you have research and development, but you can see there's design, supply, production, all the way up to delivering to the customer. So at each step along the way, you add value. And in an accounting system that recognizes a value chain, you have to find a way to assign value or cost to each one of these steps. Supply chains, again from last week, is outside the organization. So you go from inside the organization where you're working on the value chain to the supply chain where you want to add more value at each step of the way. And managers see these organizations kind of from an internal perspective and an external perspective. And the thing you want to remember is, let me just pull it up here. So if this is your company, you have like tier 1 suppliers and even tier 2 suppliers and maybe even further down to raw material suppliers. And they're each sending material up to the next level to be made into something new and then to be delivered eventually to your plant or to your store or wherever it is you're at. And then you turn around and make that into something else and deliver it to your customer all the way up to the final consumer. So this is called a supply chain. And when we look at supply chains, we look all up towards the customer and we also look down the chain towards the raw material. Excuse me. A lean operation then focuses on eliminating waste in an organization, and it also focuses on pushing waste out of the suppliers as well, the people, the customers below you, or the suppliers below you. And the concept is simpler is better. Reduction, reduction, reduction. Keep it simple. And the quality of a product or service is critical from a design perspective all the way for customer satisfaction. So while simple is better, you can't give up the idea that delivering a quality product to the customer, quality service is the most important. Oh, and I wanted to mention, you hear a lot about this word continuous improvement when you work in lean operations, where you're always trying to get better, always trying to you're never satisfied with the results that you get. Maintaining large inventories generally is considered waste unless it's there for a safety stock that you need it for something. So large inventories, bad. Again, whenever you think about inventory sitting around in your, on your manufacturing floor or in your organization, even if you go like to your office supply closet, when you look in there and you see reams and reams of paper, a ream of paper, at least in the Michigan area, cost about 25 bucks. So imagine $25 times however many reams or how many boxes of paper that you have in there. It's $25 a box. That's how much money you have sitting in there. It's not doing anything for you. Worse yet, for paper, you end up throwing a lot of it away. So think whenever you see inventory stacked, think dollar bill stacked, and it's not working for you at that point. Now, if you can convert it into finished goods and sell it, then it's working for you. And the idea that we're going to look at just-in-time, which is also a part of the lean operations, that goods should only be produced when they're needed, and you only have enough material in the factory, for example, to produce the goods that you can sell. The other idea behind lean is that people have to be multifaceted. They have to be like the utility players, if you will. They can fill a number of different roles. So that if somebody didn't show up to work over, maybe the next department over, you can reassign somebody to that operation. So just-in-time is part of the operating philosophy of a lean manufacturing organization, and it requires that all the resources be acquired and used only as they're needed. So you don't, for example, in an office environment, you wouldn't stack up 3 months worth of paper in your office. That's just not necessary to do. You'd stack up maybe a week's worth of paper. And when it runs low, you have somebody come in and replenish it. That would be the idea. In a manufacturing plant, it works the same way. So in a just-in-time environment, because you run so low on inventory intentionally, you don't have your money sitting around. But in a just-in-time environment, if there's a problem, you figure it out. You find out real quick, and you have to fix it real quick because you don't have enough time. You don't have enough inventory to allow for forgiveness, if you will. So a just-in-time environment reveals waste and eliminates a lot of over processing and that sort of thing. So use a lot of lean principles when you're thinking about a just-in-time environment. From an accounting perspective, when you shift from a traditional accounting system to a lean operation and just-in-time operating philosophy, you also have to shift your accounting perspective as well. So the changes in operations are going to affect how costs are accounted for and how they're measured throughout the organization. The work cells, or actually where the work gets done, it becomes the center of everything that you focus on from a cost perspective, because it's also where you focus all the attention at when you're working in a lean environment. And you're focused on reducing what's called non-value added activities. Again, think supply chain, think value chain. Wherever there's no value, you want to get rid of it. So in a traditional production process, you would track processing time, inspection, moving, queue, and storage time. Queue time would be like how long something is sitting someplace. It's a product's waiting to be worked on. But you can use these sorts of things and these are the processes, okay, that we focus on. In a traditional plant, the accounting model doesn't focus on these things, but the process engineers do, for example. This is their language: processing time, inspection, moving, queue, storage. Well, this then end up mirroring what you focus on from a costing perspective. So when you're in a lean environment or just-in-time environment, you do focus some on that processing time, but you really hone in on the inspection, moving, queue, and storage, because that's where the waste is at. So again, in a typical lean manufacturing environment or just-in-time facility, just-in-time concept, you focus in on these types of process conversations, and you want to eliminate waste. There's a lot of waste in these areas. Quick comparison of activity-based management versus lean operations. Both analyze processes and both focus on identifying value-added and non-value-added activities. They both focus on eliminating waste and reducing non-value-added activities. And they both want to improve the quality of the information used by the decision maker in the company to make good decisions. This is a quick chart showing the comparisons of one to the other, so make sure you spend some time on this when you're studying the chapter. And I would say that, start with this concept that activity-based model does focus on eliminating non-value added activities, but lean goes that much further and says, yeah, we're going to eliminate those non-value added activities, but we're going to reduce waste in the process. And it's not just looking at the work cell, it's looking all up and down the supply chain. Okay, that's it. Listen, have a great week. Remember, God loves you, and God is always on his throne.